All right. This is my third attempt trying to get this video done. So welcome to meeting number 4. And I'm going to have to split this up into 2 parts as I don't have a whole lot of time to do each meeting past 10 minutes, looks like. So we're going to start with Chapter 3 on Animal Farm. Just a reminder about Easter break. It kicks off on Good Friday this Friday and goes till Sunday. So keep that in mind and continue to keep checking Google Classroom. And any questions through email up until Friday. There'll be no contact over the break. Spend time with your families. And then we'll be back at it on April 20th. You have 10 days after that to get your deadline 3 novel study project submitted to me by the 30th or sooner. So let's get going here. So we're in Chapter 3. So we just had our 7 commandments presented, and that's on page 15. And now we have the animals in control of the farm. And we have Chapter 3, I've entitled it Blind Faith, Nationalism, Simplification of Commandments. And so we find out that the animals are working the farm. They're doing a lot better job than Mr. Jones ever did, a lot more productive. They're getting the harvest in and so on and so forth. We have a term called maxims, and very similar to a creed or an affirmation, as you recall in our first assignment we did at the beginning of the semester, the I believe statements. And so Boxer states, I will work harder. That'll be his maxim, something he abides by, lives by. And all animals are comrades was the first one, and that was stated by Old Major and Snowball. So we're at our maximum number 2. And so there's various different rituals that the animals follow now that they own the farm. And we have 2 main leaders, Snowball and Napoleon, but they're on opposite ends of the spectrum, very similar to Ralph and Jack in Lord of the Flies. Every meeting ends with the Beasts of England, and I sang that in the previous video. Hope you enjoyed that one. And the pigs are educating themselves. They've gathered the books from the Joneses' home, and so they're educating themselves. The question is, what about the other animals? So keep that in mind as the novel progresses. We have Snowball. He sees that the other animals are not on the same page as the pigs, so he tries to implement various different committees in the hopes of at least providing a little more balance into the farm through education, information, stuff like that. But they all fail. They don't work. So you can't force somebody to do something if they're not willing to do it, or if they're not ready to do it, or not capable of doing it at this time. So it comes down to choice. And these animals didn't have choice to participate in these committees, so obviously there was failure in the outcomes that Snowball was hoping to have. Had he done it a little differently, maybe offered them options, things like that, maybe did in little piece or little parts at a time, instead of one big, huge gathering, probably would have gone over a lot better. Napoleon, on the other hand, he doesn't want anything to do with this kind of stuff. As far as he's concerned, the pigs should be the only ones running the place and making the decisions for everybody, and so on and so forth. So he wants total control. So we'll see what happens with that. We have Snowball realizing that if I can't educate them in this regard, I do want them to understand what animalism is and 7 commandments. So since they can't read, they can't write, let's simplify it. So we're going to simplify it into another maxim called 4 legs good and 2 legs bad. And that becomes the maxim that's used throughout the rest of the novel. we see that in our society where things are compacted, compressed into something simpler. So it makes it easier for us, easier to understand and maybe accept and so on and so forth. But when it comes so easy, the big question is, what did we give up to get that easy format or that approach and things like that? So if you think of a nice little package, it looks great, it's all compacted, everything inside of it is what makes up our democracy or beliefs and values and morals and stuff like that. But once you open it up, we find out there's a lot of different things going on in there. But if you're uneducated, you may not know how to open that package up, dissect it, understand it, and comprehend it. So that's what we're looking at here. In the rest of chapter 3, we have Napoleon. I said earlier he took no interest in these committees, and he also has his own agenda. So he realizes or finds out that Jesse and Bluebell, they give birth to 9 puppies, and he takes them from takes those puppies away from their mothers, and then we don't see or hear nothing from them for quite a while, and pretty soon the farm forgets that there were even puppies being born. Now Jesse and Bluebell, we don't know what they're experiencing at the loss of their pups, and so why don't we? That's another question to ask yourself. Why was that all tucked away and forgotten, and life goes back to normal? The mystery of the milk and apples, that was cleared up. Remember, earlier, the milk and apples disappeared, and the animals are up in an uproar as to why they disappeared. We found out the reason, and it's to help the pigs out with their brain working, their reasoning, their management, their organization of the farm, and then of course we hear the fear factor. So if you don't want us to have apples or milk anymore, Jones is going to come back, and we're not going to be ready for it. Oh no, we don't want that. We don't want Jones to come back. So you can have the apples and the milk. So we're going to leave that up to you. We'll be okay with the scraps that we're getting right now. So does that make any sense? And if you were educated and you questioned and you asked for validation, which is important, especially in your post-secondary classes, always do that. Be vigilant in that regard. If you're not doing those and taking those steps, and you take things as they are, face value, you're going to find out that there's some more to the story, and before you know it, it could be too late. So it's important, especially with the elections coming up this fall, provincially and federally. Those of you that are 18 or older, this is a chance for you to have your voice heard and make that vote count. So ask those questions and ask those leaders, how are they going to go about meeting their platforms and so on and so forth. So I'm going to stop it there because, like I said, the YouTube is not allowing me to go past 10 minutes. These are posted on YouTube as well on the Google Classroom. So you can get it in 2 platforms here. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing here for now, and I'm going to talk to you later in meeting 4.2.